Aubrey and I often talk about a lot of our wins with our Turo fleet. I'm talking cars that absolutely kill it and make us a lot of money, but we need to talk about some of our cars that are major L's. And no, this is not our baby carriage. This is a renter who is supposed to trade us for our key, whatever that is. And the biggest current example of this is our 2011 Honda Civic. So this is our 2011 Honda Civic. We bought this car around this time last year, and honestly we had high expectations considering we had our previous 2010 Honda Fit do really well on Turo and had no mechanical issues whatsoever outside of regular maintenance. But boy, were we wrong, because this car has been plagued with issues almost since day one. Now, to set the stage, when we purchased this vehicle, it didn't need a lot. It actually just needed a front windshield and some moldings that went all the way to the back of the car that were pretty expensive. But other than that, this car was turnkey ready for Turo. Now, being a 2011, this was the last model year of this body style, much like our Ford Focuses before they change into a new generation. Now, statistically, that means that this car is pretty bulletproof. It should have had all the issues that the previous years had, and it wouldn't have any of those issues any longer because they rectified it. It's the last year, it's the final edition, but this car has a lot. Now, the first issue that actually presented itself with this vehicle was one day on a trip, the car simply would not start. Running perfectly fine before, no major issues. The renter got in, turned the key, and the car would crank over, but it just wouldn't start. Typically, that's a pretty easy fix, and you can point in the right direction when you use something like a scan tool. And that's only helpful if the scan tool is able to communicate with the car, which it couldn't. Now, typically, if your car has an issue, using a scan tool can help you rapidly diagnose your vehicle, point you in the right direction, and then start working on that specific system. But if the car can't communicate with the scan tool, you're pretty much out of luck. And this was way over my head, so we ended up having to take it to a local Firestone that had a master technician that was going to look into it for us. After hours of diagnosis, that master mechanic could not figure it out. He did a lot of work even after hours, but he couldn't do it. So we hacked up a deal. I didn't have to pay anything. They ended up paying the technician for his time. Thank you to Firestone. And I ended up having to take my car elsewhere. After taking it to my good friend who's a mobile mechanic, spent a lot of time researching and diagnosing the vehicle, and it turns out it ended up being some of the fuse blocks as well as the PCM for this car, the brain. And after replacing the brain for the vehicle, everything went smoothly for about 2 months, and then it developed an entirely new issue. Now, after fixing that initial issue, we thought all was good. After we did several test drives between Aubrey and I, drove it a lot of miles, we sent it back out on Turo, and after about 2 trips, a guest said the car was having another issue. Everything sounds fine whenever you start the vehicle. Aside from the fact that the RPMs are revving a little higher than normal and the check engine light is on, you would think this car drives perfectly normal, but it doesn't. Let me show you. Accelerate. It's doing it. So as you can see, the car has a very erratic and non-operational gas pedal, but it's not really the gas pedal. This car actually has a drive-by-wire system, which means that everything is controlled electronically. There is no throttle cable being pulled when you push on the accelerator pedal. This is all done electronically, which most modern cars are done by now, but this specific one seems to just be having a huge communication issue. Breaking land speed records. Now, obviously, we can't rent a vehicle out like this, especially when you can't accelerate and people are just constantly passing you. Like that. Now, we've done a lot to figure out what's wrong with this car. And unfortunately, everything that we try leads to a different path that are all dead ends. Like replacing the throttle body. Whenever you step on the accelerator pedal, this little valve begins to open and lets air into the engine, allowing you to accelerate. Unfortunately, that didn't solve our issue. In addition to replacing the throttle body, which is not easy to get to, it's on the back side of the engine, we also went through and replaced multiple fuse boxes and gone through every single fuse and relay that could be associated with the throttle body system. And unfortunately, none of that worked. The car is still having the same issues, and they're very sporadic, which leads us to believe that it's either the computer that we replaced it with, or it's some type of frayed or shorted wire. So that leads us to one final question. Do we keep trying to figure out what's wrong with this car, pay someone an extraordinary amount of money just to be able to fix it and hope that no other problems arise? Or option B, we just sell it for like $2,000.
I think $2,000 will be generous.
$2,000 and it's super easy to fix, we pinky promise. Now Aubrey thinks we should sell it, and truthfully, I'm on the fence. This car should be reliable. On paper, it's a Honda. Everyone compares Hondas with Toyotas, but I can tell you one thing, our Toyotas have never been down for this amount of time at all. Unfortunately, we don't have a conclusion for this video. No sweet, happy fairy tale ending as of yet, but we'll keep you guys updated. But we wanted to make this video because we want to show that even hosts like us that are super experienced have these issues. This is why it's really important to choose the right car the first time. And as always, guys, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we'll see you in the next episode. Hopefully with a working Honda.